Welcome, everybody, to Flat Earth Nation. It is a Flat Earth Nation. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they're willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. If you even know a little about me, or if you want to know a little about me, I really am into books from pre-World War One. And I just got this one on numismatics and the coin collecting craze that took over in the 1870s and 80s. This one I'm on page 167 of it. And it's the origin of the dollar mark. They didn't know anything. The mark we all like to see when we are the payee has caused much discussion regarding its origin and first use. The New York Times recently, in its answers to inquiries, gave the following information. The origin of the dollar sign as representing the unit of our money system has long been the subject of discussion and not a little doubt. It has been variously accounted for. The derivations generally advanced being one, a combination of the letters U.S. After the adoption of the federal constitution, these initials were prefixed to the federal currency, and according to many who have given study to the subject, the two letters were simply run together to make the magic dollar sign, the loop of the U disappearing in the operation. Number two was the adaptation or modification of the 8 by 8, once used to denote a piece of 8 reals, or as a dollar was then called, a piece of 8. A form of HS, which was used to mark the Roman unit of money, a contraction of P and S, used in Spanish accounts to indicate a peso, a dollar, a device formerly seen on the reverse of the Mexican pilar dollar, a Spanish coin representing the Pillars of Hercules, connected by a scroll displaying the word plus ultra. That's interesting. Hadn't heard that one. A contraction of the Spanish fuertes, hard, to distinguish the silver or hard dollar from paper money. In all of these cases, it must be admitted that there is no little speculation, and up to this time, there is no prospect that the question will ever be definitely settled. The student of the subject can take his choice and doubtless will be able to find some kind of authority for any one of these diverse explanations. Well, it just possibly could be this. Somehow it could be the caduceus, you know. I know it goes both ways, but there's, the one that jumps out at you is an S symbol, and something's going on. Let's take a look at this and see if we can't find some highlights and what they wanted you to do with your money. So this is what we're looking at. The Numismatist, an illustrated monthly devoted to money and medallic art. We can see here it was not that old. This is volume 22 from 1909, established in 1891. Very nice looking letterheads, and Harvard got a copy of this for their archives, 1313.4 on February 18th. Maybe that's going to cover a lot of stuff here. I know that some of these copper coins and stuff really was interesting. So here it is. Money. Oh, they must add another one. Okay, the first one is the money of the Iliad and the Odyssey, theory which gives cause for thought and which will no doubt be one for record in future reference to supposed commercial mediums of exchange before the era of coin money is advanced by the eminent Greek numismatologist Emin Zvaronis. In a recent issue of Le Revue Belga Numismatique, Mr. Savanos has written very ably in support of his theory that certain thin circular bracteates ornamented with more or less geometrical patterns, leaves, complicated spirals, labyrinths, cuttlefish found in the tombs are the talents spoken of by Homer, and consequently coin money century in advance of the Daric or the incused coins of Aegina. Well, that doesn't interest us too much. Copper dollars worth more than silver. Gorbic calico artist became chief mint engraver. Beautiful U.S. coin types introduced in 1836. Silver dollars, of one type at least, are worth more than those struck in copper. The United States copper dollars of certain designs bring higher premiums than the same coins struck in silver, and that a calico engraver designed one of the most beautiful series of coins that were ever issued at a United States mint are curious facts brought to notice by the high prices that were paid for specimens of these coins at the sale of Schwinwad coin collection held 1908 at the Collectors Club in New York. In 1836, Christian Gobrecht of Philadelphia, an engraver of calico printers, rolls, banknotes, etc., was appointed to assist William Nies. The latter was the second man to hold the position of graver at the government mint, as the coinage of silver dollars was again agitated about this time after a long lapse of years stretching from 1804, the last year of issue of coins of the denomination. The mint authorities arranged to issue a number of pattern coins from which a suitable design for the new dollar could be selected. Please make note, 1804, they had gone a long time. The story goes, they don't know, a short time after his appointment by the director to prepare dies for silver dollars after his own original designs, the new engraver, it is said, was quite embarrassed temporarily by these instructions and told his supervisor that he never had created a coin design in his life, that he was simply an engraver and was prepared to execute any design that might be presented to him, but that the designing of a coin was something with which he had not the slightest experience. Nevertheless, he undertook the work and, just worked out fine. So the first of the pattern dollars, dated 1836, that's 32 years without coins, bore the original representation of the seated figure of the goddess Liberty, which design afterwards became so familiar to the public, having been used on silver coins of various denominations up to within comparatively recent years, just under the figure of Liberty, and over the date 1836 appeared the engraver's name. And they make a big deal about some with his name, and they made him take it off, but then they told him to put it back on. There's a lot of questions about these dollars. So here's his name when they're talking about it. And it says Liberty, the goddess Liberty. I believe at this time it could have been Columbia. And it's getting pretty close to what, we use now. Remember, these were copper and some were silver. One sold for 330. So here's the Phrygian cap one. Another one. They want those ones with his name. They're rare. Oh, they took it off and they say he hid it somewhere. real small in there somewhere. The evolution of the bird. And so now let's look at another article. The new coins of Italy are gems of art. The world's royal numismatic gives his country a beautiful coinage, and the numismatic world's most heartily applauds. They all loved it. So here's their new coins, because everything's new, getting new about this time. They got new people in charge, throwing back old style coins, for who knows, nostalgia. Well, there's the January Aquarius, okay. Notes on the zodiacal coins of India. Well, they're explaining it to India and everybody else. Here's your new coins. Here's what you love. Get ready. There was never 1,000 years of peace and golden age. You've always loved this in India. As a matter of fact, how do you like the name of your new country? We're calling you India. It gets even weirder. They just, they were in a hurry. They couldn't, rewrite everything perfect. Over 18,000 specimens, many brought to America. Plate illustrations of 300 specimens, commendable work of a numismatic suggested duty. A study of the great and his day from the coins of over 2,000 years ago. Now, this is just going to be the start. I'm going to keep this a short video, but they have a lot of people that just dropped off. All of a sudden, hey, we found 18,000 coins. Hey, we found 20,000. So that's the takeaway on this. That commendable work on the part of all numismatics to receive recognition by the numismatic is, we are pleased to say, given opportunity for evidence in this, the first issue. Let me find you that more. So this is the pattern we're going to find out, is that these new 18,000 trove, the coins in question were unearthed in Damanhur, a small station on the railroad between Alexandria and Cairo, about 36 miles southeast of the former city in the Nile Delta region, early in 1908. There were upwards of 18,000 beautifully preserved coins in the find, many being in mint condition. A Mr. Newell secured a choice selection from the hoard while he was in Egypt. The others which have come to America were brought here by a young Egyptian merchant and variously dispersed. Wow, and they've got the plates now to say, and this is what the coins they used back then were. Isn't that so convenient? So these are some of the coins that right now they'll authenticate and say, oh yeah, these are the oldest coins in the world. We know exactly when and where they were found. Well, maybe we do and maybe we don't. Maybe these guys were in on it. We'll get more of that later. Boston Catholics, because they really just like the minting of it. That was a big deal, because they were telling stories. Well, they've got the spirit overseas. Now, let's just see what the British Museum just received. A famous collection of ancient Jewish coins. The bequest of the deceased Frankfurt numismatist was made to the British Museum, here you go, of Judeans coins, the greatest in the world, and a loss to his own country. Did they even have a country then? Or they were just... Well, anyway, 15,000. Here you go. 15,000 coins. You can spread those out for collectors, reselling them. Who knows what they're doing? What are they laundering the money? So they've got them. Look for them here. Some have are notable for spelling Gershog instead of with one S. Maybe the mint wasn't there, but you know what? The Berlin Mint had 40,000 5 marks, 50,000. They didn't have to find those. They're just printing them. Well, there's an interesting pamphlet found in 1808 during the reign. Well, that's how you had to find out about coins and put it all together because everything is brand new. So they just had their 21st year. About 8 years later, the Age of Reason. They're, they lived the end of the golden age and they didn't know it. They didn't know it. So in 1909, this is an example of one of those 1804, one of the last coins printed. Not stock. What are these, roses or something? Not much of the Phrygian cap style hat. Still a little bump up there, but we'll see that change. So sold for $36,000. Wow. All right, we'll take a quick look at volume 2, number 2 here, February. New U.S. Gold Series criticize and define President Roosevelt lauds St. Gaudens design. Art critic Heston Chapman criticizes it. Oh, they just don't like it. It's what happens when you depart. A radical departure from that long in use invites criticism and comment that the St. Gaudens design of the $10 and $20 gold pieces were an innovation compared with the meaningless, unexpressive, and antiquated in a modern sense, but not sufficiently antiquated as metallic art specimens, and that they appeared without the motto, open quote, "In God We Trust," close quote, brought comment, both approving and adverse, from press, pulpit, platform to a greater degree than have any previous new coin introduction in this country or perhaps anywhere else. So they didn't have it a law that it had to be there, but they were putting it on before, and now it's gone. It's clearly evident that this was the omission of a reference to the deity, and the coins had been anticipated, open parentheses, the death of the designer, Augustus St. Gaudens, while preparations for minting were in progress, brought forth advanced information that commanded attention to the coin designers and the wide numerous commentations that followed for the later introduction of the $2.50 and $5 Bigelow Pratt type, which were a far greater departure from that long in use, have received no comparative notice from either public or press. Very interesting. Going away from that, maybe we have time to look at the Bigelow Pratt situation, right? It's daring, imaginative, beautiful coin since the days of the Greeks, some people said. Its full length figure of Liberty holding the torch is his own conception. His flying eagle and standing eagle are each in its own way equally good. His head of Liberty is not only a strikingly beautiful head, but characteristically and typically American in that for the headdress, he has used one of the few really typical and at the same time really beautiful pieces of wearing gear ever produced independently on this continent, the bonnet of eagle plumes. Yeah, so that was the first high relief. These are called a low relief, no motto. And they said, nope, you're putting it in there. You're putting it in there. So some of them got it in there. And 1907, that was the change. 1908, I believe. So, different looking bird. Well, somehow they must have thought they'd given the Native Americans enough sympathy because the Bigelow Pratt type, we don't get to see them very often. So it says here that around in 1909, they considered putting Lincoln on our paper money. The portrait of Abraham Lincoln has been used on various issues and denominations of United States paper money. The demand notes of 1861, the first issue of paper money by the United States government for general circulation, had the portrait of Lincoln on the $10 denomination. How modest. It also appears on the first, second, and third issue of the legal tender notes, 1862 and 63. New money, new pictures, that's our guy. And it didn't take off, I guess, but they want to bring it back. Pictures of the great emancipator. Pump that up too. Do it. Because after all, and I'm going to close with this section. This was the Darwin centenary. Darwin Wallace Medal, the 100th anniversary of the birth of Charles Darwin and the 50th anniversary of the publication of The Origin of Species occurs this month. Darwin and Abraham Lincoln were born on the same day, February 12th, 1809. Modern biological science may be said to date from the presentation by Charles Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace to the Linnean Society, London, England, on July 1st, 1858, of the theory of the origin of species by means of natural selection. The title of the joint paper was, open quote, on the tendencies of species to form varieties, and on the perpetuation of varieties and species by natural means of selection, close quote. The 50th anniversary of this event was adequately celebrated by the Linnean Society last year. It was of special interest that Dr. Wallace was present and made an address. With the admirable generosity that has always characterized the relations of the two men, Wallace yielded the superior part to Darwin. He pointed out a certain similarity in their careers. Both had been collectors in early life. Both had traveled extensively, and both had, at the critical moment, read Malthus's essay on population. They were worried about it. Darwin himself, however, has pointed out that they differed insofar as he was led to his views from a consideration of what artificial selection has done for domestic animals. First time I heard that. A medal commemorating the 50th anniversary was struck, and they loved it. But before I do close, I don't want to waste these pictures. What did they have in mind also about this same time period that people could do with their new money that could be a caduceus? Oh, which ones was it? Oh, I think it's this one. Start with this one. All right. Well, what they do is promote, and I'm not kidding you, the agenda is towards free love and lesbianism. And if you don't think that's implied, that when they started advertising whiskey and the girls' night out, and she's already got, I'm just saying, a nightcap of Wilson. That's all. I don't think so. I'll bet you there's some weird stuff in that one. All right, so another coin one of the $50. Very interesting. Am I going the right way? Oh, these coins are probably, well, I wanted to show you. So now we can look at them as we go back. This is for another show. Isn't that malachite just beautiful? So they're drinking it up. It must have been that other one. And it didn't take long. I mean, even nowadays, they want girls to not act like they should be carrying, sitting around with their legs wide open like this. And if you scratch my back, you can sniff my mint. You know, that just it doesn't seem right. And they're always going to be pushing the drinking. And this is an ad from the 1960s, and it has the imp. This is one of the ones famous for the subliminal advertising and how they do it. 345 triangle, I think, and just a lot of weird stuff going on. But man should have his own imp. That's what we're dealing with. Is you know they want they want Christians to equate with, oh my goodness, masturbation is the unforgivable sin, and they put that on the men in America to the point of where it's like, oh, did you do that? Then you're just like those guys. You're nothing like those guys. You're not like those guys. That there's a process of sanctification, and everybody's going to go through it, but the difference, and that you can all the difference is that, like, using the apple of God's eye, King David, he's saved. He did some sins that we all are glad our sins aren't published like that, and you reap what you sow, and God will purify his heart. But he never made excuses. He repented, and that means take a breath. And then you go back to your God, your life, the life that you've built. You don't let them say you've thrown it all away for a stumble. And I know I'm hard on you. I know I'm hard on myself. I want, us to just get gold in our bodies and stuff. But oh my goodness, I can just tell by so many people that talk to me and ask about it. It's not the unforgivable sin. It's that thorn in the flesh. It's the thing, and it's why it's not good for man to be alone. Sometimes you got to pick up a book and put down the computer. All right, man. Glad I'm trying to keep this short. It's already a half hour. I guess it would have. But anyway, you are not those people. You're not. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. It's a flat earth nation. I'm never going to tell you anything else because I have your best interest at heart. It's an honor. Thank you for joining me.